Colors. 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 Colors.
10 years ago, Bira 91 looked like the future of Indian beer. Its colorful bottles were everywhere, from fashionable bars in Delhi to house parties in Bangalore. Young consumers loved its playful monkey logo. Investors poured millions of dollars into the company, and international beer giant Kirin Holdings wanted a share of its growth. Bira was preparing for an IPO and dreaming of becoming a global Indian beer brand. But then something extraordinary happened. The company reportedly lost around 748 crore in a single financial year, more than its entire annual revenue. Production suffered, employees complained about unpaid salaries, suppliers waited for their money, and the brand started disappearing from many shops and bars. How did India's coolest beer company reach this position, and did competitors like Carlsberg kill Bira, or did Bira damage itself? That's the question we will answer in this case study.
After months of legal and boardroom disputes, Bira 91 founder Ankur Jain has stepped down from the company's board and his executive role.
Bira 91, once a toast of India's millennial crowd, is now facing a bitter brew of internal turmoil and financial distress.
Ankur Jain is stepping away from Bira 91, the beer company he founded and ran for more than a decade.
The story begins with Ankur Jain, an Indian entrepreneur who had spent several years in the United States. After returning to India, Jain started Serena Beverages in 2009. The company imported approximately 25 to 30 beer brands from Europe and America. It was an expensive business, but it gave Jain something extremely valuable: information about Indian beer drinkers. He discovered that urban consumers were becoming interested in wheat beer and lighter, flavorful beer. However, the Indian market was still dominated by traditional lager and strong beer brands. Jain later described this import business as perhaps the most expensive focus group in history. Instead of conducting surveys, he was learning from actual customers what they ordered, what they rejected, and how much they were prepared to pay. Using these lessons, Jain launched Bira 91 in February 2015. Initially, the beer was produced in Belgium and imported into India. The name was carefully designed. Bira sounded young, friendly, and Indian, while 91 represents India's international telephone code. Its mascot was a mischievous monkey, and the reverse letter B in its logo suggested rebellion. Everything about Bira looked different. Traditional beer companies often used masculine imagery, heritage stories, and serious packaging. Bira used bright colors, playful language, and modern design. It did not want to compete directly with mass market beer. It positioned itself between ordinary Indian beer and expensive imported brands. Its two early products, Bira White and Bira Blonde, were particularly suited to young urban drinkers. Bira White was a low bitterness wheat beer that was easier for new consumers to drink. It felt modern without being intimidating. Bars and restaurants also liked the brand because customers actively asked for it. Bira was not simply selling alcohol, it was selling participation in a new urban culture. The timing was nearly perfect. India's younger population was traveling more, eating out more, and experimenting with international flavors. Microbreweries were appearing in cities such as Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, and Gurugram. Customers who had previously chosen between Kingfisher and a few international labels suddenly wanted something new. Bira became one of the most visible faces of India's craft beer revolution. Its branding appeared at music festivals, restaurants, sporting events, and fashionable social gatherings. The company eventually moved much of its production to India because importing every bottle from Belgium was too expensive and also difficult to scale. Investors noticed the opportunity. Peak 15 Partners, then known as Sequoia Capital India, backed the company. Belgium's Sofina and Japan's Kirin Holdings also invested. In November 2022, Bira raised another $70 million in a funding round led by Kirin. The stated plan was to increase production, strengthen distribution, and develop new products. By FY23, Bira's revenue had reportedly reached approximately 824 crore. Its national market share remained relatively small compared with beer giants, but it had built something more valuable than raw volume. A distinctive brand. At one stage, Bira said its national share had crossed 5% with double-digit shares in selected markets. However, rapid growth created a dangerous question. Was Bira a niche craft beer company, or was it trying to become a mass market beer company? In 2019, it launched Boom, including strong beer variants to reach a larger market. The logic was understandable. Strong beer represents a significant part of Indian beer consumption, and remaining only in premium urban bars would restrict Bira's size. But entering the mass market meant competing with companies that possessed far greater manufacturing capacity, distribution strength, and financial resources. Carlsberg, for example, had already understood the importance of strong beer in India. Tuborg Strong, launched in 2010, reportedly sold more than 1 million cases within its first 6 months. Carlsberg could use an established network, deep capital, and years of operating experience. United Breweries had Kingfisher, while AB InBev controlled brands such as Budweiser and Hayward's. Bira's fun branding could attract customers, but beer is not sold through branding alone. Alcohol is one of India's most complicated consumer industries. Every state has different excise rules, licenses, labels, taxes, and distribution systems. You cannot manufacture beer in one location and distribute it across India as easily as soft drinks or biscuits. Companies need local permission, working capital, warehouses, and relationships in every important market. That complexity eventually exposed Bira's greatest weakness. Ahead of a proposed IPO, its parent company changed its legal name from B9 Beverages Private Limited to B9 Beverages Limited. On paper, only one word disappeared private, but in India's highly regulated alcohol business, that small change had enormous consequences. Product labels and registrations carried the company's old legal name. After the change, Bira reportedly had to register labels again and obtain fresh approvals in different states.
With the name change, Bira had to re-register its product labels across multiple states. That's an unexpectedly lengthy process that stalled sales for months, leading to an entire inventory write-off. The result? Losses surged to 748 crore rupees in FY24.
The process reportedly took 4 to 6 months in some markets. During that period, the company could not sell normally despite having consumer demand. Beer also has a limited shelf life. Inventory carrying the old company details could not simply remain in warehouses forever. Bira said it had to write off around 80 crore worth of products. Its annual sales volume fell from approximately 9 million cases in FY23 to between 6 and 7 million cases in FY24. This was not merely an administrative mistake. It created a chain reaction. When products disappeared from stores, customers bought alternatives. Retailers gave shelf space to competitors. Bars replaced unavailable Bira products with Tuborg, Kingfisher, Budweiser, and other brands. Distributors became cautious. Meanwhile, the company still had factories, employees, marketing commitments, interest costs, and the suppliers to pay.
मेरा नाम हरीश द्विवेदी है। मैं बीरा 91 का एक्स एम्प्लॉय हूँ। बीरा 91 ने लगभग 1 साल से सैलरी नहीं दिया, 2 साल से पीएफ नहीं जमा किया।
In FY24, Bira's revenue fell by approximately 22% to 638 crore. Its net losses increased to around 748 crore. Think about that, the company lost more money than it generated in annual revenue. Its auditor also reported negative cash flow of 84 crore, accumulated losses of approximately 1,904 crore, and liabilities exceeding assets by nearly 620 crore. The auditor warned of material uncertainty over the group's ability to continue as a going concern. The name change was a major trigger, but blaming everything on one missing word could be misleading. Bira was already operating a capital-intensive business while expanding aggressively. Brewing requires factories, bottles, cans, ingredients, storage, and transportation. State-by-state regulation traps working capital. Expansion into pubs added another layer after Bira acquired the Bira Cafe in 2024. At the same time, competition became stronger. Global companies began investing more heavily in premium beer, the exact market Bira had helped popularize. Carlsberg gained full control of its India business through a deal announced in 2024 and signaled greater investment. Its Indian operation already controlled roughly 17% of the market at the time of that transaction. Kingfisher's owner in United Breweries also reported powerful growth in its premium portfolio. Bira had proved that young Indians wanted premium and experimental beer. Unfortunately, that success attracted companies with bigger factories, stronger distribution, and more money. By 2025, the crisis had moved beyond weak financial numbers. Reports said production had been disrupted and the workforce had fallen significantly. More than 250 employees reportedly petitioned the board and major investors, complaining about delayed salaries, reimbursements, statutory payments, poor transparency, and corporate governance failures. Some employees reportedly sought the removal of founder Ankur Jain. Bira began exploring a massive 132 million funding package involving equity and structured credit. Jain confirmed that the company had received investment proposals and said the company would support working capital, restructuring and payment of pending dues. But raising fresh money becomes extremely difficult when existing debt is high, operations are unstable, and investors fear that their capital will merely cover all losses. So did Carlsberg kill Bira? Not exactly. Carlsberg and other large brewers increased the pressure. They occupied shelf space, expanded premium brands, and had the strength to survive regulatory disruption. But Bira's deepest wounds were internal. Rapid expansion, persistent losses, high working capital requirements, dependence on continuous funding, and a poorly managed legal transition. Carlsberg did not force Bira to change its company name without securing all the necessary approvals. Kingfisher did not create its 80 crore inventory write-off. Competitors simply benefited when Bira disappeared from the market. And this is the real lesson. Creating a fashionable brand and building a durable company are not the same thing. Marketing can create demand, but operations must ensure that the product reaches customers. Investors can finance expansion, but they cannot permanently replace profit and cash flow. In a regulated industry, paperwork is not a minor back office activity. It is a part of the product itself. Bira 91 may still recover. It retains significant brand recognition. India's premium beer market continues to grow, and investors may decide that the brand is worth rescuing. But the company that once made beer look playful is now fighting a brutally serious battle. Bira did not fail because consumers stopped liking its beer. It entered crisis because ambition grew faster than operational control. It showed India how to make beer cool and then discovered that being cool is not enough to keep a company alive.